B.F. Skinner is known for the behaviorism theory, and this is a learning theory which is different from the developmental theories we were talking about in the purple slides. A learning theory affects learning for everyone, not dependent on your developmental age, but it has its limits. Now, Skinner is known for his rats. And the learning theory was actually developed through experiments with rats and buzzers and bells. And what he found is that learning is controlled by consequences that are either positive or negative that follow a behavior. And so we see conditioning in children as the process of positive reinforcement or negative reinforcement to shape a behavior. An example of this is when you reward a child for doing something, and it may be even a task that they didn't want to do. So we see this with potty training. How many of you have ever heard of a child getting an M&M or a Cheerio or something as soon as they go to the potty for the first time and then the second time until eventually you can take the M&M away and hopefully they'll continue to use the potty without reinforcement. This is that positive shaping when they do something correct. We see it all the time in classrooms for classroom management. Children staying on the green light, getting a sticker, getting praise from the teacher when they're doing something positive. We all know that this works. We all have been on the receiving side of positive reinforcement. It's those comments or intrinsic and extrinsic rewards that will motivate us sometimes. On the flip side, when you do something that's not what a teacher or somebody would want and you receive negative reinforcement where they say, that's not quite right, can you try again? Or we say, if you continue to do that, you're going to lose X, Y, and Z. That's another component of negative reinforcement where we're shaping their behavior and their choices they make. Now, negative reinforcement is different from punishment. Punishment is where we want to stop a behavior and it's an unpleasant consequence that happens. Now, with negative reinforcement, the unpleasant consequence is avoided if they do something correct. So let me just differentiate between the two. Let's say in a classroom, a little boy is kicking another little boy. Okay, they're on the playground and they're playing, and one little boy kicks another little boy. A negative reinforcement would be the teacher saying, if you kick him again, you're going to sit in the timeout area. Then he has to make the decision. Do I kick again or do I not? But he knows where he stands either way. A punishment would be where the teacher says, you just kicked Joey, you need to go sit right now in the timeout area. And there's no chance to make a new decision. So we see that punishment takes out the decision making of the child, and sometimes we have to have punishment because you need to stop something immediately. But when we want children to learn to make decisions, the negative reinforcement will give them an opportunity to try again and make the right choice this time. So there's definitely times where we want to have negative reinforcement instead of just always punishing. The implications for our teaching are basically that you can use this as a management tool or a motivational tool when it comes to learning, but you should be very careful with the type of reinforcement that you give and the frequency. Just like we go back to that potty training, if a child becomes dependent upon that M&M to go to the bathroom, you're probably not going to continue that for the rest of their life. So we want to start weaning the reinforcement. Oh, if you go the whole day without having an accident, you're going to get your M&M. If you go the whole week, yeah, that sounds pretty rotten, doesn't it? But we have to wean them from the reinforcement and not have them become reliant on that for decision making. So there's a time and place for it, and there's also a time where they have to make decisions and not be reinforced. I know there's constant controversy on whether children should receive participation trophies, and when do they start working for things just because it's important to them? So these are things we need to consider, but it is definitely important to know that we can shape behaviors using these conditioning techniques.